And we've got Tapan Singhel, who's the MD and CEO of Bajaj Allianz. And he actually he was the first employee of Bajaj Allianz, I think, Tapan, back in 2001. Am I correct?
Yes, you're right.
Yeah. So been in the industry a long time, but although your background is physics, from what I remember, at university. So we have these amazing personalities. Okay, over to you, Tapan.
Yeah, so good morning, everybody. It's a pleasure and honor being here because somehow I've loved speaking to entrepreneur and I love the spirit of entrepreneurship, and that is why Ganesh is a very close friend because he brings that spirit to the table. I think I'll start by not using the word like relief or thrive. For me, every challenge has been very exciting. And I think I read a quote somewhere: "The greater the challenge, the more glory in surmounting it." I think the spirit, and that is what the Indian spirit is known about. I think in all adversities, we are able to steer ourselves and come out with different solutions and different scenarios. So first, I'll talk about my own company in terms of this crisis. How is it going through? What are challenges that I see, and what would be the future, the way I look at it, and then maybe a bit about the way I look at entrepreneurship from the outside. So way back, I think just about a year or so back, one of the problems I was trying to solve was, if I look at insurance, the insurance industry pays huge amount of claims. In fact, most of the companies are bleeding because of the amount of claims they have been paying. But the normal person on the street feels that the industry does not pay claims. It was a very funny problem to have because the industry is dying paying claims and the customer feels they don't pay claims. And I was thinking, why is it so? I realized that one of the reasons would be that the process of paying claims is very cumbersome. I think the industry looks at suspiciously any kind of claim because that is what the nature of industry is, till proven right, and then they pay. But from the customer perspective, that's a very bad customer experience. So we thought in the team that why can't we settle all claims, retail claims within 10 minutes of the incident, and said let's steer the company towards that. While we were doing that, the process of simplifying payment of claims and looking at how do you pay within 10 minutes time, we started achieving a lot of good successes, and we could settle claims within 30 seconds, and some claims you could settle in 7 minutes, automobile claims you could settle in 20 minutes. And then COVID happened. I remember before the lockdown was announced, I told my team, if I look at the way it's in China and the way it is spreading, India may enter into lockdown phase. So let's prepare for lockdown. And let's see that can we, on a pilot basis, move everybody from work from home, and how does the company run? And we moved the entire company at work from home, and I think this was third day when the lockdown got announced. So as a company, we were very well prepared. In fact, in the lockdown period, we issued close to now about the last count, I think about 14 lakh policies, and we already settled about 9 lakh claims. Completely contactless, work from home, the entire organization running smoothly, and my grievance ratio is at all-time low. So the 2-3 things which comes out very clearly is when you are preparing for a scenario which you feel would redefine the industry, and you are able to look at how the world is moving in the interconnected world, you can actually predict what's going to happen as the next step. Because a lot of governments, a lot of regulators, they speak to each other. No? I think a lot of times I'm able to predict what the Indian regulator will do in insurance simply because of the Malaysian regulator has done or what the Chinese regulator has done. No? So it's very, very easy if you can look at how people operate, how governments operate, how regulator operates, because most of it you'll see coming to your country. And in a way, you get a leeway time to be able to prepare what's going to happen. I think that worked well for the company, and that is how we could transition smoothly. Now, having said that, if I look at my revenues, we would be down by about 25-30%, but mostly because of automobile. Automobile is down by about 50%. Obviously, no new sales is happening, so it's all just about the old vehicles that is there in the market. But health premium has moved up because people are cautious about health now. A lot of people are looking for health insurance as such, and the factories and all, though a bit reduced, but that also started moving up in a different direction. Investment is a challenge, but lucky for us, I think we have been a very conservative investor. So most of our money would be in government bonds, secured bonds. Some of it were in the bonds which went down for most of us, like ILFS and other part of it. But most of it was very, very secure. So in that circumstances, I think if I look, how do we go forward and what is the new normal and what is the challenge for insurance industry as such? Insurance industry is a high touch industry, which means that most of our distributors will be talking to customers, going to their houses, speaking to them. And it's like a physical document movement, and you pick up documents and it is conversation based. Now, suddenly meeting people has become an issue. Social distancing is the new norm. People are not going to be meeting or seeing anybody in that circumstances, the way things are moving. Now, if we look at these circumstances, and we have a huge sales force, to give you a context, we have about 100,000 people in different distribution network, different kind of sales environment on a variable pay basis. Now, suddenly for them, the way they have been selling changes, because now they are not going to get appointments where they go and meet customers. They may get appointments on the phone. They are not going to be handing over documents, and the customer is not going to sit and read the documents and the brochure and then get the signature done, and there will not be conversations happening the way they have been used to. And used to means they have been used to that for decades of working. Suddenly a huge workforce, for them, the way they work is going to transform. Now, the biggest challenge that we are pretty successfully managing it now, is how do these people understand contactless sales? How do they understand relationship building, in which you don't get appointment to meet somebody in the office or at his residence or at her residence to talk about insurance? How do you look at businesses which is understandable in a couple of sentences or policies, and how do people accept that? Now imagine a huge workforce which was used to selling in a very different way has to move to a selling when social distancing is the new norm. They have to move to digital, where they had no clue about what digital was. They were used to physical documents, paper, because insurance has been a very traditional company for all these years at how it has moved. So getting the mindset change, people have been used to working in office, because unlike IT companies, we didn't have any work from home policies like that. People loved coming to office. Now for all of them to work from home in the circumstances they are, the way to service, how do you set up barriers between what is work, what is home? Huge transformation is there. But I'm eternally and super excited at all points of time, because in this, I see huge opportunities of redefining businesses, of taking the insurance industry to a level where it never was, to a customer satisfaction level where customer never expected it, to a solution of products which was not there in the offering, to look at an ecosystem creation which was not required earlier, to redefine and retrain the entire sales team into a scenario where they can do contactless selling, a relationship building exercise where they can go ahead and meet and build relationship without meeting people. It's a huge transformation, but transformations gives huge opportunities. And as Indians, our resilience, our ability to see it differently would make us much stronger in times to come. And I'm very confident that as times comes, we shall again be able to create 1 million jobs, is what has been my dream going forward. We're not going to lose that target, but redefined, retrained, and relooked into a different perspective. That is the way I see it as, and that's the way we have been handling this challenge. Over to you, Vandana.
Thank you. Thanks so much, Tapan. I mean, I think it was brilliant. You know, you started with the greater the challenge, the more the glory, and Indians are great at it. And you ended with redefine and retrain and relook. One thing I'd like to ask you is, it's very easy for all of us to say that we need our staff to change their mindset. But when you have 1 lakh of them, as you do, or even when you've got 5 of them, how do you do that? How are you actually doing that at the moment?
Very interesting question, Vandana, and it shows your depth of understanding while you ask this question. So let me tell you how I started this. So when the lockdown got announced, so what was my biggest worry? And my biggest worry was that I have so many people on a variable pay, if you may say so, because they have to send a premium to get commission. Now, all of them, they'll not be able to move from their home, which means that, and this is going to last long. I also felt it's not going to end on the 20th April. The lockdown is going to increase because that's the nature of it. And I thought, okay, for a month, 2 months, if my people are not able to go and sell and they're not able to make money and their entire home and their entire expenses depend on this money, what will happen? So my first feeling was, okay, people would be feeling low, despondent, and they'd have no clue what to do. So I remember I set up a huge Zoom calls on Antakshari. Can you beat that? I said, okay. Antakshari does not require any tool. It is one of the easiest, if I may, so a fun-filled event which all of us would have done so all our life, right from school, buses, college, trains, I said that may boost up people and show that we can still connect and build relationship, without, and we can have equal good amount of fun. In fact, a lot of my senior staff were a bit apprehensive. They said, boss, actually now, do you think? I said, no, it is a message that we can connect and we can feel happy, from wherever we are. And that is how the new normal will be, how do you build relationships. So we did Antakshari, we did drawing competitions, we did all the crazy stuff that you can think about, which I thought that as children, as college-going kids, as young adults, we had enough and very good fun doing it spontaneously, without any tools, without a lot of paraphernalia, and it is there. I think that set the mood in, and then we started running new tools to sell in terms of that I could send you a link on your WhatsApp, and as a customer, and a small write-up on what you're buying. As a customer, you click that link and you could purchase, and the agent who sell the link to his customer would get the commission. So I found how contactless sales has to happen, and how my agent could make money, even without meeting people. And how could he do engagement activities, which I demonstrated by these small incidents in his group of friends, circles, and customers. So we did that pretty early. And that is why when I told, we already sold 14 lakh, policies.
New policies,
yeah, and we sell 8 lakh claims without meeting. So we just redefined it, brought the excitement up, demonstrated that even in work from home, even in an environment where you are scared and you are in a house, you're not sure what will happen, we can have great fun like we would do when we are together in a party. We celebrate virtual birthdays. So all that activity of fun is what I started with, to answer your point. And then gave solutions how to make revenue generation for yourself, even without physical documents, papers, and movements.
So ultimately what you did was you created safety within the employees, right? So safety and security by using fun as kind of the conduit to get there. And then gave them ideas, so they were able to then go out and implement them without feeling that fear. Tapan, thinking a bit more about the insurance industry, I've got two questions. One is to Tapan, and then the other one is to Dev. Tapan, you receive premiums, and the point is to invest those premiums with the idea that you're going to get an increase in return on where you've invested, so that you're going to be able to pay out. I mean, that's a very simplified version of it, but the challenge at the moment is even if you are investing in government bonds, the interest rates on those bonds are going down, and at the same time you're probably getting lots of claims. So what are you doing as an organization to try and get the highest return? I mean, where are you seeing returns, or are you just sticking and saying we can't even think about looking at anything else, we're just going to stick with really liquid kind of government bonds or things where we know that there's no risk? What are you doing at the moment?
Okay, so let's understand the business model first and foremost. So if we collect 100 rupees premium, the idea is that we should be able to manage our claims, expenses, and commission within the 100 rupees. So if you, let's say, the expense and all put together 99 rupees and you save 1 rupee, it is called underwriting profit. Then the money you invest is your investment returns. So most prudent insurance companies would focus on underwriting profit, and the money that they get on returns is a buffer when you have difficult times. That's how it gets done. Because if you look at the European market, what happened was companies which played on return, to the point you said, that they took the return as part of their operating model, and then the market tanked. And if you look at, let's say, Japanese economy, you have negative, and Europe is also down. So those companies did not survive. And that is why when you hear Dave talking about cash as king, it is about how do you make your business model in a way that you run your business model on the cash that you have. Investments are for difficult times. They are not part of business model. I think that is the way we operate, and that is why we have been able to run the business so successfully for a long time.
So then if we think about underwriting, I think part of the challenge with the underwriting process is that you've got your actuaries that are making estimations about what's going to happen. And then you get COVID, right? And then it just throws everything out. So how do you deal with that? Because then your underwriting profit is potentially a loss as well,
exactly.
right?
And that is where all this buffer that we have plays out. So, and then you also have a reinsurance arrangement, which is behind your the normal book. So let me take you back to 9/11. When 9/11 happened, terrorism was out of the market. Yeah? No reinsurers offering terrorism cover. So in India, we created a pool for terrorism, and we offered terrorism cover to our customers here. And when the Bombay event happened, we paid from the terrorism pool, which is there.
Oh,
So
wow.
the insurance industry is like a web. Any one incident anywhere in the world, because it's all interlinked to each other, it gets paid up by the entire world.
Yeah.
That is how they keep afloat. So you have to have good reinsurance arrangements. You have to have prudent underwriting. You have to have reserves in terms of your investment. You have to manage all this together very well. Otherwise, you make a mistake, then you sink the company. I think that is how it gets done.
So okay, last question to you, and then I want to move to Dev. Just in terms of pandemic insurance, loss of profits. I know there's been a lot of companies do have loss of profits. He's laughing. I know, but I need to ask you this. So where you have loss of profits insurance, is COVID covered or is COVID not covered? Are you now creating pandemic insurance and offering it to your clients? I'm just curious.
No, I think it comes from US. A lot of conversation on loss of profit and pandemic cover, and Mr. Trump also made some statements on that. So let us understand first what is business interruption. That is the loss of profit. And let us understand what kind of cover is there. Let us understand what cover was there earlier and what mistakes do entrepreneurs and people who run businesses make. It's a good question. It's a very good question. That's why I was laughing, because this is the question right now for any insurance expert. So if you look at the business interruption cover, typically or traditionally has been linked to the damage to property or the material damage cover that you call.
Right.
So let us say if you have a fire cover, which covers damage due to fire, explosion, and all this cover which is there. Now, when a claim triggers there and you have business interruption cover, then your claim triggers in the business interruption part of it. They are interlinked cover. So you have to have the material damage cover, and the BI cover has linked to that. Now, wait here. That is what the traditional cover is, which most companies which have BI cover have. And that is why in that pandemic will not be covered. Now, when the floods happen, I remember when floods happened in Tamil Nadu, a lot of IT companies, they had access issues. They could not enter the building, the BPOs, KPOs, and they lost a lot of money because of the floods which happened. So then companies are asking for, can we have, when access is denied, can we have a cover for loss of profit? Insurance industry said, yes, we will devise a cover for you and give that to you, but there's a price for this. The funny part was, a lot of organizations did not take that cover. Lot means 99.999% did not take the cover. Now the cover that they have is linked to the material damage.
Right. So
they're not covered. But why they did not take the cover? Most CFOs, they look at insurance as a cost.
Yeah.
They have to incur because of requirement of banks or statutory requirements. Very few look at insurance as a balance sheet protection.
Yeah, a
Good
risk
CFOs,
cover.
They should look at that. Not only from a CFO perspective, as individuals. I can challenge all the participants here. Are you covered for 4 things as individuals right now? Do you have an individual cyber cover for yourself? How much risk are you right now in? Huge. 2, is your organization covered for cyber cover? Right now the biggest risk which has gone over COVID is cyber. Are you thinking about it individually as an organization? The answer is no. I don't see any big spike coming for that. Second, do you have a good health cover? If no, at individual level, because if layoff starts happening, your organization cover has no relevance. And that can be one of the biggest expenses coming through. You'll be surprised to know in COVID, in government hospital, their claim is moving up to 5 lakh rupees. It's not so simple. It is a very expensive treatment by now which is going through. Do you have a cover for that? Third, do you have a good personalization cover? Fourth, do you have a good cover for your automobile and your home, content of home? The answer would be no, because most of us see it as an expense. Well, the actual expense is minimal, less than a dinner without our friends. That is the problem, So if people were taken a good cover, they would be covered. But unfortunately, they have not taken. And the cover that they have is linked to the material damage, which does not cover pandemic. Does it answer your question?
Yeah. Tapan, Ganesh, would you add anything?
Yeah, so if I look at it from my perspective, I believe it's a leader's duty to be able to steer the organization or the ship so that you don't have crises where you have to let go of people. At the same time, it's the people's duty to ensure that they put in more than 100% now in ensuring the ship sails safely. They can't become like a victim of circumstances, and they can't be backing out of the role that is there. Third, it is the organization's duty. How do you provide the new skilling, new opportunities, and how do you show the path to people where they can put in more than 100%? It's a combination at all stages. It is not a combination of just one person or a philosophy, because at the end of the day, if the company does not survive, people will not survive. No, so you can have a philosophy of not laying off people. But let us say if the company goes down, everybody gets laid off.
Absolutely.
So I think let's understand that. Now, how do you steer your company to a position, and how do you ensure that you reskill your people and give them an opportunity to give 100%, which adds to revenues? How do you redefine your business models at a very high and hyperspace? And how do you not freeze by fear? Is where leadership gets tested. No, it's a huge test of leadership, which is in the current times. Good leaders will be able to steer the organization to a level where no pay cuts will happen and no people will get lost. No, and people will have to redefine, and people will have to bounce back, and put their bit into taking the company to the next level. No, just by hoping and praying that legislation, government orders will save jobs, and we may do nothing, and we switch off phone and sit at home and have great time, they are gone. No, those are harsh realities one has to face. It's a test of everybody, people, leader, organization skill set, redefinition, the excitement of recreation, looking at profit pools, looking at opportunities to grow, because everything does not die at all at any point in time. There are huge opportunities everywhere. How do you put it together is what has to be seen from my perspective.
Okay, Tapan, a question for you from Raman, who's one of our charter members. Would you say employee morale is as high as before COVID, or the same, or higher? He doesn't say or lower.
Okay, so I have always had this two belief. Amazing team gets built in crisis, and the second is you have high morale when you're winning. I think these are two things which is very critical. And right now we have the opportunity of both together. An amazing crisis. I think teams have rallied together. And since now in this also they're beating the market in terms of the way they're capturing market share, they're also winning. No, when you have these two combinations, and lucky for us, no untoward incident of any employee among the thousands and lakhs that we have, the morale is always high. No, I think it is the super excitement of a crisis and the beauty of winning. Combined together, the morale will always be high. And with no untoward incident. This three is playing out right now for us on a very strong note, so it's going well.
And it plays into what you said before about what you're doing with your stuff. And it's, I think Covey talked about coming from a mindset of scarcity or abundance. And when you're coming from abundance and you create that safety within them, then morale is likely to be high with the opportunities that are there rallying together. So great. Thank you for that. 1 minute left. So Tapan, can I get you next and we'll finish with Ganesh?
Yeah. So for me, the worry and opportunity is both the same. India, people talk of demographic dividend. Okay, that sounds exciting. But if you don't provide employment, constructive, this demographic dividend becomes negative. Unfortunately, the way things are going, it is a downward spiral. And we heard about job cuts, and we heard about millions of people losing jobs. We heard about immigrant laborers. And this is going to be there, which means social unrest would become a bigger issue in India than what we see in COVID. It is hurtling towards that. That to me is a very, very big worry, because one, as an insurer also, that is a concern. And secondly, as a citizen of India, it's a huge concern for me. And that is where the opportunity also comes in, because one good thing about us is that we can, on a variable basis, provide employment to millions of people. How do I reskill people who are actually sincere, who are looking for a livelihood and who can make a difference? And how I can cater to this in terms of providing employment to millions of people. So both are in the same stage. I think as an industry person, as a citizen of India, this is a problem which I have to solve next, is the way I'm looking at it.
Okay, great. And Tapan, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom, your thoughts, your everything to help us think about how to rethink and relook at what's going on and redefine what is the new normal. We hope we'll be able to get you back at some point in the future to re-talk to our members and perhaps consider what has happened since then. Thank you, audience. We look forward to seeing you